Thank you for joining my lecture. Today, I talk about the interpretation of the Northern Territories issue. There is a territorial issue between Japan and Russia. Etrof Island, Kunashiri Island, Shikotan Island, Habomai Islands. It's a position of Japan's government that the Northern Territories are peculiar to Japan, but actually it's very difficult to determine the attribution of the Northern Territories. Russo-Japanese Treaty of Amity. The borderline between Japan and Russia was drawn on the islands of Etrof and Urup. Sakhalin became the joint rule of both nations. Treaty of St. Petersburg. In Sakhalin, conflicts between both nations are constant, and Russia has sought Sakhalin's possession instead of moving the Kuril Islands to Japan. At the time, Japan, which had just begun modernization, could not reject Russia's request. Portsmouth Treaty. Under the Portsmouth Treaty, which was concluded in Russo-Japanese War with Japan still dominant, Russia transferred the southern half of Sakhalin to Japan. This was the era when Japan's territory in the north was the largest. Japan-Soviet Neutrality Pact. The interest between Japan, which wanted to ensure the safety of the North in order to advance to the South, and the Soviet Union, which wanted to ensure safety of the East because of the war with Germany, have coincided. Yalta Conference. U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt, UK Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and the leader of the Soviet Union Stalin talked about post the Second World War treatment of Germany and Japan in Yalta, Soviet Union in February 1945. In the secret agreement, it was promised that the Soviets taking part in the war against Japan and the Soviet territory on the Kuril Islands. On August 8, 1945, the Soviet Union broke up Japan-Soviet Neutrality Pact one-sidedly and declared war on Japan suddenly. Next day, the troops of the Soviet Union invaded in Manchuria, the Korean Peninsula, Sakhalin, and the Kuril Islands. On September 2, 1945, Japan signed a surrender document on the U.S. battleship Missouri. In 1951, Japan signed the San Francisco Peace Treaty and regained sovereignty. But in the treaty, Japan abandoned the Kuril Islands. The Soviet Union has not signed this treaty. Japan, which was defeated in the Second World War, tried to build diplomatic relations with the Soviet Union only by returning Shikotan Island and Habomai Islands. There was a man who stopped Japanese attempt. It was U.S. Secretary of State John Foster Dulles. He met with Japan's Foreign Minister Shigemitsu Mamoru in August 1956. He told Shigemitsu if Japan gave up Etrof Island and Kunashiri Island, the United States would never return Okinawa to Japan. The United States feared that Japan would approach the Soviet Union at the time of the Cold War. Japan-Soviet Joint Declaration. In this declaration, after the peace treaty was signed, it was promised that Shikotan Island and Habomai Islands would be transferred to Japan. Because Japan insisted on returning 4 islands, Japan couldn't sign the peace treaty with the Soviet Union. However, Japan was able to join the United Nations in 1956 by regaining diplomatic relations with the Soviet Union. After that, the foreign minister of the Soviet Union, Gromyko, had said that there was not a territorial issue between Russia and Japan. So Gromyko was called Mr. Nyet. It means Mr. No in English. The Union of Soviet Socialist Republic was collapsed in 1991. Russian nationalism rises in the Republic of the Russian Federation, which succeeded in the Soviet Union. Unfortunately, Japan cannot expect territorial concession from Russia. The view of Kunashiri Island from Hokkaido, Japan. Japanese fish boats cannot approach that even a near lighthouse because Russia rules. Russia has a lot of ethnic issues, so Russia's government may think that territorial concession leads to the collapse of the Republic of the Russian Federation. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel to maintain these educational activities. I'm looking forward to seeing you again.